Welcome back. This is the fourth or fifth step in this Toybox project. Let's just review those real quickly. The first step was we took a file that I got from my friend in England, Wayne Mack, and we converted it from his metric settings to my inches settings. And then we went in the shop and we actually cut the parts. There's a video on that. The next step was to assemble the box and show you how to use the cam and post hardware to create the box. That's a nice idea because it lets you flat pack this to ship it anywhere you want and assemble it after it's arrived at its destination. It's a good idea for Christmas. Now, the other thing that we did or need to do is, well, we cut out an inset panel in the middle of that so that we could personalize these boxes. That allows us to come back and create a box or a batch of boxes, maybe 6, 2 per sheet, and then create 6 different inset panels. You could have just a plain one if it was just going to be a box for firewood in front of the fireplace. Or if you wanted to have it as a toy box, it could say toys or it could say whatever you want to put, whatever name you want to put on it. You can personalize these in any way you want. And that's what today's little video is going to be about. So I'm going to start by going over to my edit here and look at my job size. So I'm going to change this. Now I've got a piece of scrap out in the shop that's 10 1/4 inches wide. It's actually 8 feet long, but just to keep it tight on the screen, I'm going to make my first practice here at 24 inches wide, 3/4 thick. I'm going to go through this, all the same checklist, single-sided. There's my blank size. Machine bed is my Z0, and the corner is left hand. Standing in front of the machine, looking down the machine, it would be on the right-hand side and in the corner closest to me. I'm changing my model resolution. This is a setting I'm not sure I totally understand, but I understand it helps me get a little bit better modeling. I'm not going to do a 3D model, but I'm still going to leave my setting there. So I'm all set up for today. The first thing I want to do is draw the actual part. The part, according to my notes, is 20.6. So I measured my panel, and I'm going to have this about 30 thousandths less than the actual hole or the inset. It's going to be 9.2, and I'm going to have radius corners, and the radius I want, I measured the actual finished cut is a 1/2 inch radius. So I'm going to create that. Now I know I could have played with these numbers up here and had it actually positioned right, but I love the centering tool. It just does it automatically for me. So now I've got my part ready to go. I've done all the steps. I'm ready to start doing something to personalize this. Now, this could be a piece of material that's just 3/8 of an inch thick. And I could say, okay, just cut it out, inset the panel, and we're ready to go. Or I could say, I want to step in from this a certain amount. And on my system, I believe it's about 0.6 inch. I'm going to take a break in a minute, go out and measure that to be sure. But I want to inset this so we can cut basically the rabbit that sits inside the other rabbit, so the panel sits in place. It'll make more sense when we assemble this. Okay, I've got an image in here that I want to work with, my train. I've got my text. Now, whenever I'm converting bitmaps and just using the trace tool, there's a couple of ways to do this. The best way to do this, there's no doubt about that. The best way to do this, if you've got the time or you want to take the time, I'm moving Tom out of the way so I get some room to work. The best way to do this is to enlarge this and then just use your drawing tool and essentially click here and here, draw it with your own line, zoom in, and put nice clean lines in it. That's going to take some time. This is a pretty clean image, so I'm going to use the trace tool. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select, I'm being repetitive, but okay, I'm going to back up here a little bit. I want to get the very best resolution out of this that I can. Can't do two things at once. Can't move Tom. Some of you sit and watch me go, why doesn't he just turn off that that trace. I'm going to make this very large before I start my trace. And again, this is just, we're not, I'm just selecting most of the darker grays. I can preview at any time and then zoom in and look and say, yeah, I've got some pretty clean lines here. I'm pretty happy with that, the way it stands. If I grab more gray, I'm going to get a little different look at it. I like my, when we come down here to corner fit, I like to be loose. These are settings that are pretty good. I'm going to accept this for now. So I'm going to grab this. Once again, we're just, I should call this Andy unedited because I tend to wander all over the place when I do this. Tom is all grouped together. I'm going to move Tom completely out of the way for a minute. The train is grouped. Now I'm going to scale it down to something I can use. And I'm going to move it just a little bit here. I think I need to be a little bit smaller here. Now let's grab Tom and bring Tom over and group the two together. Okay, one of them needs to shrink. Let's shrink Tom just a little bit for now. Now this is all subjective. This is anything you want to do. This is all your judgment. We're going to grab that. I grabbed an extra line without needing to. We're going to go over here, and I've already practiced doing this. I'm going to delete these. We're going to go just do a straight up chip carve. Oh, we didn't get the train. So I'm not going to use, I did a couple of things when I did the trial, but I'm not going to use this end mill, so I'm going to remove it for now. This is going to be a straight up, just a chip carve for starters. And we'll calculate that. It's got some vectors because of the way it grabbed things that aren't connected or aren't functioning well. I'm going to continue anyway, and it'll just ignore those. I didn't use a clearance end mill. I guess I did. I'm going to reset this, preview. Oh, that's not too shabby. That's all right. I can see the train and I can see the image. Now the train is cut in reverse. I'm going to show you a trick now that is going to be, I think interesting. If I go back here, and I'm just going to grab, as well as my images, I'm going to grab this outer border. And when I go over here, I'm going to recalculate this. So I'm going to just delete these. And I'm going to do a V-carve with a flat depth. And I want my depth to be 375. That would be how much the panel would inset into our front panel. And I've lost that line again. I'm going to use a 1/2 inch end mill to clean out this area, all this flat section. I'm also going to select another end mill, which will be one of my smaller end mills, my 1/8 inch end mill. And I'm going to calculate this whole part. All right, continue anyway. We'll ignore that. Now we can, there we go. Now we've got a whole different look. We'll reset our preview and we'll just have a look. We'll preview all of our tool paths. First, it will use that 1/2 inch bit to rough out all the material. And then it's going to create use the 1/8 inch, and then it's going to use the V-carve to chamfer these edges. Now these edges are really sloped and pronounced. You may like the look. I kind of do, but I can come back here and just recalculate this and change my V bit to something with a higher slope on it. So let's go to a 60 degree and let's recalculate all this. I should fix that broken vector, but that's for another lesson. So we'll reset this and we'll preview it. And now what I've got is a little bit sharper edge on it. I kind of like that look a little bit better. But there is my panel. Now this is 3/8 of an inch high or thick at this point. And so that will just step in or go in. And so I'd see the front of my toy box, but Tom and my train would be raised flush with the front of my box. Okay, there's just an idea. Now there could be 1,000 different ideas, but this is one that might be kind of fun, a fun way to personalize. Okay, that's a wrap. Like I say, like I was just saying, the next step is we're going to go in the shop. We're going to set up the machine. We're going to make 3 or 4 different types of panels. We're going to assemble it all. Want to thank you for sticking around. I know this is like one of those old cliffhangers where you just it's never quite solved. You got to go back and watch the next episode. Sorry about that. I wish I had the time to sit down and do this all at one time.